Hi guys, Techman here. Right guys, welcome back to the channel. Now I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to start off with asking a question, or a few questions. So, are you tired of spending half your weekend trying to wire your RV only for it to mess up? Does it feel like trying to assemble flat pack furniture with missing instructions? Well, Bluetti claimed that their new RVSolar 48-volt system can be installed in just 30 minutes. No electrician, no drama. That's faster than the time my mate Dave takes to find the right screwdriver. So here it is. It's a modular plug-and-play, or should I say plug-and-play system designed for your RV, van or off-grid cabin, and it promises to revolutionize off-grid living. But is it really that simple? And what can you expect if you invest in one of these systems? That's what I want to talk about today. Now, in my travels, I meet a lot of people, and some people like to have all the hard work done for them. So what they do is choose modular power stations from the likes of Bluetti, EcoFlow or Jackery. And essentially these power stations can be integrated to fit in your living space and power all your loads while you sit back and relax. They're also plug and play, so you're ready to go within just a few minutes. And as we usually talk about portable power stations on this channel, can this RV system by Bluetti, what they call the RVSolar 48-volt system, replace a modular power station? And is this what many off-grid users have been waiting for? So let's cut the chase and take a look at the system.
It's go time.
Alright guys, I'm just going to pause the video for a moment. Now, during the course of this video, you might notice the odd sound in the background, like a bit of a fuzz or a bit of a pop. I do apologize for my voice as well. I'm carrying a little bug at the moment, and in fact, at the time of recording this particular audio, you can see my voice has deepened even further. But I only noticed the pop sound or the fuzz sound in post-production. I've tried my best to try to reduce the sound and take it out as much as I can. However, I have not been able to do so fully. So I do apologize for that. I was sitting in a room with a computer and a couple of other servers and bits and bobs, and I wondered if there was a bit of interference. But like I said, I do apologize for any sound in the background. Anyways, back to the video. I hope you enjoy the rest of it. So this is essentially Bluetti's first fully integrated 48-volt system designed for mobile and off-grid users. The system itself is essentially built around this unit here, which Bluetti calls the RV5 Power Hub. It is an all-in-one unit designed to keep things simple, clean and compact. And essentially what it does is combine a number of different components all under one roof, no pun intended. And so inside what you have is a 5 kilowatt inverter, an MPPT charge controller, a DC to DC converter, an AC or grid charger, and also an alternator charger. And of course, all of these things put together come with the usual protection circuits that you'd expect from an off-grid system. You could say it's the Swiss Army knife of power stations, minus the corkscrew. I mean, just looking at it, it does look cool, doesn't it? I love the rugged blue design, though personally I think the screen here could be a little bigger. Just saying. But the fact that you can get all of these things all under one unit, it almost feels like it's a portable power station minus the battery. And technically, or essentially, the battery is the only thing you need to connect to it to get it working. There are some additional things that you can add to the system, and we'll come back to that later. Now, let's take a look at the specs in more detail. So the maximum AC input is 5000 watts. That's the most amount of power they can get from the grid or shore power. And of course that's going to charge your batteries and also power your loads. Now you can see 120 volts here. That's for countries like the US, South America, Japan, etc. that uses main grid voltage of 120 volts. There is a 230 volt alternative for the UK, Europe and the rest of the world that use 230 to 240 volts of main grid power. And if you look in the manual, there is a 240 volt split phase available in the US. And this is done by enabling EV charging mode. However, there's no bypass in EV mode, as you can see here. And that's because it's limited to L1 or one leg only. Now that's fine if you've got a 30 amp RV, but it's kind of limiting if you've got a 50 amp RV. So what that means is that you won't be able to charge your batteries at the full 5000 watts and also power your loads or your onboard loads at the same time when you're hooked on to shore power. Something else to note is this unit here, the EPAD distribution box, which we'll come to a little later. This box only has 8 AC breakers, so if you have more breakers in your RV, you can't connect all of them to this distribution box. Again, more on that a little later. But I definitely recommend that you check out the manual for more details on the limitations of this power hub. And as always, make sure this is the best setup for you before you buy it. Now, according to the manual, there are 3 charging modes available. You can charge at a steady 1440 watts, which Bluetti calls the standard mode. In addition to the grid power, you can add some PV power or solar power. And so the maximum combined with the grid power and the solar power will be 2000 watts. Now this will charge up a standard 5 kW battery in about 2.5 hours, or 4.5 hours if you have 2 batteries in parallel. I think that will be if you have the AC and PV or solar input together. If you're charging from AC grid only, expect around 5 hours to charge a 5 kW battery. Next, there is a turbo mode if you want to charge your battery quickly. This will allow you to charge the batteries at 5000 watts or 5 kilowatts from the AC grid, and 3600 watts or 3.6 kilowatts from PV power or solar power. And that's a total of 8600 watts combined. That's insane, man.
My initial thoughts, I was just like, God damn, I didn't expect it to be like that.
Now, would I recommend pushing that much current into a battery on a regular basis? Probably not. But hey, the option's there if you need to charge your batteries up quickly before hitting the road, or if you're expecting a cloudy day ahead. Now, speaking of current, make sure that you've got the right size wire when trying to charge in turbo mode. You've got to make sure that you've got the right size cable that can handle that amount of current when trying to push that much power into a battery. Perhaps a 2 gauge or even a 0 gauge cable for 100 amps or more. Now, if you want to keep the fan noise down, or you're planning to charge overnight or slowly, there is an alternative charging mode. Bluetti calls this the silent mode. And to be honest, that's a nice touch, and it probably would be my default option. Charging at higher speeds puts a lot of stress on the battery, and perhaps you won't notice it in the short term, but over time it will wear down faster, especially when you're charging at faster than 1C speeds. So if you don't need lightning fast charging, this silent mode is worth considering. And so in this silent mode, what you get is 1200 watts of charging from the AC grid, and 1200 watts maximum from solar or PV. And combining the two, you'll get a maximum of 1200 watts. Still plenty of power if you've got modest loads. Now all these charging modes and these speeds are in the manual, so definitely make a note of them. Now you can toggle the maximum amps in the app, and it's important you do that if you're planning to charge using the turbo mode for faster charging. Now coming back to the AC input specs, the RV5 hub has a built-in transfer switch, so you can use it as a UPS or an uninterruptible power supply. I'm not sure how all that got highlighted, but here it is again. And the switchover time is less than 20 milliseconds, so it's fast enough to keep all your loads running in the event that you lose power from the grid. Now let's move on to PV or solar input. It says here that it's capped at 1800 watts, and there are 2 solar inputs. So I am assuming that it's 100 watts per input, and so that you've got the maximum 3600 watts to charge. I mean, how else would you be able to charge at 3600 watts from solar in the turbo mode, right? Now here's where I've got a bit of a gripe.
I'm listening.
The maximum solar voltage input is 50 volts, and that's the open circuit voltage. And to me that's really low. You won't be able to connect larger solar panels in series with that kind of limit. I mean, if you've got a large RV with quite a lot of roof space, you might be wanting to max it out how much solar panels you can put on the roof. And as such, if you want to keep the current low, you're going to connect them in series. So ideally, we should be seeing a figure of around 150 volts. There are plenty of power stations on the market, including some from Bluetti themselves, that can handle 100 or 150 volts from solar. So yeah, I don't quite get the 50 volt limit here. Now the max input current is set to 50 amps, which helps you to achieve the 1800 watt solar input. But if parallel solar panel connections don't work for you, or you're not comfortable with running high DC currents through your living space, you're going to be stuck with slower solar charging. If you do try to connect your solar panels in series, you're going to go over the 50 volt open circuit voltage limit here. So again, I don't quite get the limit set here by Bluetti. So the crux of it is you're going to be limited to a parallel solar panel connection. Now that might work for some people, but it's definitely something to bear in mind. Now granted, you probably might not have 3600 watts of solar panels on your roof or on your van. But let's take the scenario where you've got this set up in a shed or a stationary setup, like a garage or a cabin. You might have a string of solar panels connected in series. Even if you've got something like 2 or 3 solar panels, each at 300 watts, with an open circuit voltage of around 40 volts, your only option would be to connect them in parallel, not series. Now again, this might work for some people, but it's certainly not for everyone. Now, you can also use the PV2 input to charge from a 12 volt or 24 volt vehicle or alternator. You'll get 600 watts from a 12 volt alternator and 1200 watts from a 24 volt alternator. Again, the max current is set to 50 amps. Now, charging from the alternator with such a large battery bank, it's not the most efficient way to charge your batteries, but it's definitely a backup option that you have, especially when you're off-grid, low on solar, or just want to top up while you're driving. Now, in terms of AC output, the inverter is rated at 5000 watts. That's plenty of power for most RV appliances and AC loads. I get that some people might want some more power, and there are off-grid systems that can deliver that extra power that you may want. But for most people, I think the 5000 watts is sufficient. Now let's talk about the DC output. So as we discussed earlier, the RV5 has a built-in DC step-down converter. And so what this essentially does is takes the 48 volts on the batteries here and steps it down to 12 or 24 volts in the distribution box. And so the 48 volt goes into the RV5 hub. The RV5 hub then outputs 12 volts or 24 volts based on what you select. The maximum current it can output is 100 amps at 12 volts or 60 amps at 24 volts. And so the total output, that's how much power the RV5 can supply to the distribution box, is 1360 watts if you're using the 12 volt circuits, or 1620 watts at 24 volts if that is what you have selected. And so when you combine the AC output and the DC output together, the maximum amount of power that you can get out of the batteries through the RV5 hub is 6000 watts. So that's a lot of power for a mobile setup. But again, I am disappointed that there's no 48 volt DC output.
Why? Why would you do that? What is the matter with you people?
Now, I do get it. Most RVs are built around 12 volt systems. And you can get a lot of components and gears that are made for 12 volt systems or run off 12 volt batteries. But having a 48 volt output from the RV hub itself would have been a nice option for users running more power hungry loads. Or even if you're someone like myself, might want to recharge your large power station using 48 volt batteries. So in a nutshell, there's plenty of power here for your direct DC loads. But the lack of 48 volt output is a bit of a bummer for me. Now, you could drop this RV5 hub straight into your existing setup. Just swap out your old or your current all-in-one unit and you're good to go. But if you're building your system from scratch or looking to upgrade, Bluetti reckons they've got everything you need to get started. So let's start by looking at the batteries, and then we'll go and look at some of the optional extras. So here's the all-new Bluetti 4810, or should I say B4810 battery. The name kind of gives it away, doesn't it?
This is not rocket science.
It's a 48 volt battery and it has a capacity of 100 amp hours. Bluetti says it's a 48 volt 100 amp hour auto grade LFP battery or lithium iron phosphate battery, rated at 6000 cycles to 70% capacity or 70% depth of discharge. It also features self-heating all the way down to minus 20 degrees Celsius. Very important if you're using it in colder environments or colder climates. The 6000 cycles rated by Bluetti means that they should keep you powered for a very long time. I think that would be something to the effect of 17 years of use if you keep them in good shape, at least according to Bluetti anyway. And even after that, you should have a good amount of life left in them. It doesn't mean that after 6000 cycles, you're going to have to throw them away. It just means that there's less capacity in them. Now, Bluetti says the batteries can handle 100 amps continuous current and 200 amps peak for 30 seconds. And they also say that you can connect 24 of these batteries in parallel, giving you up to 122.88 kilowatt hours of capacity. Now that's a lot of power.
Wow.
I don't think you'd want anywhere near that much amount of weight or capacity in your RV or van, but it shows just how much you can scale up this system if you ever need to. Bluetti also provides a 5-year warranty with the B4810 batteries. A bit on the short side, I think. I would expect at least about 10 years, especially when other big name brands in this space are offering a 10-year warranty as standard. So I really hope Bluetti will reconsider that. It's just a bit of peace of mind, when you're spending such a large amount of money on an ecosystem. Now let's talk about some of the optional extras that Bluetti offers, and certainly these are things that you might want to consider. So this is the distribution box we've mentioned a couple of times already. Bluetti calls this the ePanel Smart Distribution Panel. Technically, it's just a distribution box that manages and controls 8 AC output circuits and 20 DC circuits. I mean, that's a lot of fuses and breakers. Now what's interesting is that, just a moment. Now what's interesting is that 4 out of the 8 AC circuits are so-called smart controlled, and only 6 out of the 20 DC circuits are smart controlled. Now, what does it mean by smart controlled? Now, Bluetti explains this, that these circuits, the smart controlled ones, support real-time monitoring and remote control via the Bluetti app or ePad LCD screen. We'll come back to the ePad in just a moment. And down here they add that these circuits have internal switches and power metering built in. I mean, all this is great, but it kinda makes me wonder, why not make all the circuits smart controlled? That doesn't quite add up for me. Was it perhaps a cost thing? Or a design limitation? Or why was it so difficult to install a full set of smart control circuits? These are all questions that Bluetti need to answer. Now, in terms of what you can power, the AC circuits can handle up to 30 amps at 120 volts. That's of course in the US and countries that use 120 volt grid power. The DC circuits are 10 to 30 volts and a maximum of 20 amps per circuit. And the maximum output amperage or current is 100 amps. That's all the DC circuits combined. Now, if you're not quite sure what size cables to use or what size breakers you need for your AC circuits, Bluetti do provide a handy table or a handy reference table. And what about DC circuits, you might ask? Well, they've got you covered there as well. So take the time to familiarize yourself with your setup and make sure you are using the right size cable and breakers or fuses. Seriously, don't skip this part. It's very important and not to be taken lightly at all. And then there's this ePad control display, a 10.1 inch touchscreen LCD display with real-time insights and controls for your RV system. You get things like AI diagnostics, remote monitoring, and even weather alerts. Though I think it will be good to know just how accurate the data is. And if it's reliable, it would save you, or it has the potential to save you, a lot of time and guesswork. Though, thinking of it, you're probably going to need stable internet connection for it to work and update regularly. So, just per se, if you're on a metered or a mobile data plan, it might be worth checking just how much data it uses or consumes on a typical day or in a typical month. I guess, over time, with more users buying into this system, you probably get a clearer picture on the accuracy of the ePad and also its data consumption. Bluetti also offers these 100 watt solar panels, the PV100FX flexible solar panels as they call them. So these solar panels are actually optional. You can buy them if you prefer to buy them or buy the entire kit from Bluetti. But of course, if you've got your own solar panels, you're free to hook up your own panels to the system or install residential panels on your roof of the RV or van. The price of solar panels has come down quite a bit over the last few years, which means your return on investment is quicker than ever. And at $300 for a pair of 100 watt semi-flexible solar panels, these solar panels from Bluetti aren't the cheapest. So if you already don't have your own solar panels, it might be worth checking out alternative marketplaces for like new or lightly used solar panels, which you'll get at a better price. Remember, a lot of these residential solar panels have a lifespan of around 25 years. So you could get yourself a good deal on some used solar panels which have plenty of life in them. Now, these solar panels have an open circuit voltage of around 41 volts. This fits in nicely with the maximum 50 volts PV input on the RV5 hub. Most 100 watts flexible solar panels have an open circuit voltage of around 20 volts, since they're mainly aimed at 12 volt batteries. So if you've got 18 volt or 20 volt solar panels, or you can source them cheaply, you can connect them in series to get close to the 50 volt open circuit voltage. Just make sure the open circuit voltage of your solar panels when connected in series does not exceed 50 volts. The other thing to note is that despite that these solar panels are flexible or semi-flexible, I'd be very cautious in trying to bend them. Trust me, the flexible panels I've had in the past did tend to wear much quicker, and they definitely are not scratch resistant. And so if you're going to be mounting these panels permanently on your RV roof, I'd recommend going for rigid glass panels instead. You'll thank me later. Now, Bluetti claims that you can install the whole system within just 30 minutes. That's quite a claim. If I'm being honest, I think that's only possible if you've got everything prepped, the layout marked, mounting points ready, and you're basically just bolting things down. If you consider the time it takes to mark the full layout and mount everything, and of course crawling under your RV or van to try and find where all the wires should go, that's going to take some time. Remember, you're going to have to wire in the solar cables and all the DC to AC loads to the distribution box. All of this takes careful planning, and delivering that can take time. In the real world, give yourself an hour or two to set up and mount the RV5 and install the batteries. And if you're doing all the cabling, the conduit work, the layout planning, and all the mounting, you might want to give yourself half a day or even longer, depending on the size of your RV or your off-grid space. I'm not saying you can't do it in 30 minutes. I'm sure there are experienced users out there who can do it within a time frame close to 30 minutes. But for the average Joe or the average person, expect an hour minimum, and more time if you want to install the whole system. Having said that, that's still faster than most systems out there. So it's not really a negative at all. Just don't get caught up in the 30 minutes install claim. So coming back to it, I think there's real potential in the RV solar ecosystem. But how does it stack up against the competition? Something like the power kit from EcoFlow. Well, if I'm being honest, I like the slick design and the smart home integration. It's a clean, modern system and it's intuitive. But here's the real issue. It's a closed ecosystem. And what I mean by that is that you're stuck using their own batteries and their solar panel. EcoFlow do not allow you to use your own batteries or your existing batteries or hook up your own solar panels. You've got to buy these panels from them so that you can hook it up to their power hub. Bluetti's system, on the other hand, is much more flexible. You have the option to use your own batteries and also hook up your own solar panels. And so it gives you full control over your own setup. And so the EcoFlow Power Kit has a modular plug-and-play architecture. The RV system or the RV solar system from Bluetti is much more all-in-one, all-inclusive solution. The flexibility from the RV solar system gives it the upper hand, I think. So after all that, what's there to like about the RV solar system? Well, it's scalable. Add batteries whenever you want and whenever you're ready to upgrade. It has a low standby power consumption, just 7 watts. It's also third-party friendly and works with non-Bluetti batteries and solar panels. The smart controls are also impressive, with AI diagnostics, app control and real-time monitoring. I also like the 3 charging modes, including the silent mode for quiet environments. And it's also an all-in-one solution that includes grid, alternator and solar charging, and with the added benefit of a 48 volt to 12 volt or 24 volt step down all-in-one robust unit. The setup itself is also a breeze and you could do it yourself. No need for a technician. Not to mention the price is also very attractive to what's already out there. I mean, EcoFlow and Victron offer similar systems, though not identical, and they're much more expensive. I guess the added benefit with systems like the one from Victron is that it lets you add multiple components in parallel to boost the total input or total output, something that this system from Bluetti can't do. That flexibility and ability to swap out components at any time is super handy, but it also comes at a premium. Now, how can Bluetti improve the system? Well, I'd start with that solar input limit. 50 volts is far too low. Ideally, it should be something around 150 volts. Having smart home integration would be also a great addition, as with also having smart controls on all DC and AC circuits that are embedded in the ePad distribution panel, not just a few of them. Perhaps they could also upgrade the RV5 unit or make a unit with L2 output support. This would be very useful for 50 amp RV users who want to charge batteries and power the load simultaneously. Next, I get that most people are happy with 12 volt and 24 volt DC output. I guess most of the DC loads can be powered with these parameters, but adding 48 volt DC output would add to its versatility and give direct access to the battery bank. You can have 48 volts output directly from the RV5 hub, which has no connection with the distribution box. It will be great to be able to have custom charging modes, where users can adjust the charging speed to something that suits them right from the app. This is something Bluetti has been lacking for some time. EcoFlow already does this, I'm not sure why it's taking so long for Bluetti to add this feature in the app. And lastly, if you're not familiar with these types of setups, or if it's your first time attempting to install an all-in-one system, the quick guide from Bluetti is, well, let's just say a bit of a minimalist. Not the best attempt at drawing up a quick setup guide. So the 48-volt RV system is a bold move from Bluetti and a serious contender for the best overall all-in-one system in 2025. It's certainly a huge and exciting step forward for RVers, van lifers and off-grid users. It's powerful, flexible, packed with features that doesn't require a PhD in electrical engineering to set up. It's not necessarily the best setup or the most perfect setup, and it's still early days to judge long-term reliability. But as of now, it is one of the most complete, scalable and user-friendly systems out there. Now, coming back to the question I asked right at the beginning. If you currently use a modular power station in your RV or off-grid living space, would you benefit from replacing it with the RVSolar system from Bluetti? Is it really worth the upgrade, or would you rather stick with your current setup? And if you're thinking of integrating the RVSolar system in your van or off-grid space, let me know what you think of this whole system. Does it work for you right out the box? And what additional features would you like to see? And if you've already installed it, drop me a comment below and let me know how you're getting on, what you love about it, and what limitations you've noticed. Right, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to drop your comments and thoughts below. It's a new system at the time of posting this video, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be more information out there and the quirks will surface as people start to install the system. So be sure to share your experience and feedback to help future users. And hey, if you've got this system from EcoFlow or a Victron setup, or from any other manufacturer for that matter, let me know what you think of the RVSolar system. Right guys, as always, thanks for watching, stay safe, stay green, and I'll catch you in the next one.